So let's take a look at the price development of Bitcoin. And first we need to talk about the deadline of July 9th, right? We know that in April, when Bitcoin crashed really, really hard, when the Trump tariffs were announced, and after that it was quickly announced that the tariffs would be frozen to give the rest of the world time to respond to the tariffs for negotiations. The White House now says that July 9th, the trade deadline, could be extended. It could be extended. I think what they are saying is it will be extended. And that's not really a surprise, because there's another thing, an important thing going on. We know for a fact that the tariff plan of Trump is a part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which I covered in a previous video. Also what the impact of on Bitcoin can be based on the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The deadline of 9th of July, so the 8th of July is the last day for everybody to come up with new proposals, and it needs to be far shaped, and most probably it's not. That's why the deadline is going to shift. There's another vertical line here in the screen, which is the 31st of July. This is a legal deadline in the United States. This is where the United States law will enforce or decline the tariffs of Trump. So this is now a new important deadline. I think that's the reason why they say it could be extended, which I think we should read it as it will be extended. So it will be extended until the end of July. And negotiations are in process, but of course the world is watching, because when Trump gets a negative outcome on this, then there's no rush. So people are going to wait, countries are going to wait until what's going to happen in the United States first before they are going to show their cards on the poker table. That's my expectation. I don't have a glass bowl, but this is an expectation. This also means that I think during this time, Bitcoin will not move very quickly unless there's going to be big news about the tariffs and big news about deals being made with Europe, with China, being, of course, the larger ones. And framework, yes or no, we need to know the details of the deal, and we need to know the big benefits for everybody at the table. And that's going to move the price, right? Because we also know that the interest rates at the United States are still at the same level. And yes, they can come down, especially when the tariffs and the impact of the tariffs on the economy for the United States are known. And because of the negotiations are still ongoing, they cannot know for certain what the exact impact will be. And that's also one of the bigger reasons why the interest rate has not dropped yet, even though the inflation is low and the unemployment rate is very stable. Bitcoin still has a record. If you look at the daily close, Bitcoin now, until yesterday, has a 49-day streak above $100,000. That's very impressive. When you look back at what the streak was before this one, it wasn't so long, because I think we need this. It started over here. It was only 7 days. Okay, so this one was above 100K closure. This was a streak of 17 days. So we are now at the longest streak in the history of Bitcoin above $100,000. Wow. And what is important about that streak? Well, let's talk about psychologically. Let's talk about what it means psychologically that Bitcoin is now over 40 days in the $100,000 mark. We know that the $100,000 mark is a psychological barrier, because people think, okay, when Bitcoin goes to 100K, there's going to be a big sell-off, and we're going to see Bitcoin dropping to 80K, and then maybe again go to 100K, and then back to 80K. So for as long as it takes to shake out everybody who wants to sell at 100K, especially people that were in Bitcoin like way early, right? So when you buy Bitcoin for, let's say, $20,000 and you want to sell at 100K, that's a 5x of your investment in a period of 2 to 3 years. That's not bad, is it? We also know that looking at the cycles of Bitcoin, that the halving cycle is very important, where miners get 50% of the rewards, right? So the inflation for Bitcoin gets less and less and less and less. We are now already 95% of all the supply is already available, so only less and less supply will come into the market. So 2028 is going to be an important halving. The 100K barrier is a big deal, and now it's over 40 days above the 100K. This means that because of that, people are getting used to this price level. And the reason I drew this box was for a long time ago, I drew this box between the 90,000 and the 105,000. This is the psychological box where people will remain in, and then when Bitcoin surpasses the 105k, people are going to accept, okay, Bitcoin is over 100k, it's already 105k, so it can go to 110, 120, 130, 140. People psychologically won't be impressed by Bitcoin going from 110 to 150 because it's only like a 40% increase, right? But when Bitcoin cannot breach 100k and it goes down to like 70k, people are like, well, there you go, there you see, this cycle 100k is the max. People will put a lot of sell pressure on 100k. So the fact with all the buying that's going on by institutional investors, the ETF, Bitcoin ETF in the United States, for example, and also companies buying Bitcoin, treasury companies, people dumping their money into these companies and they buy more Bitcoin, either leveraged or not leveraged. That's also potential risk, in my opinion, for the end of this bull market, when the price could collapse and people will stop investing into those shares, and therefore the buying power will be zero almost, and that means that we can have a bear market, we can have a healthy correction, and then we can start the process all over again. But that's a topic for a next video. I think a next video is a good topic to talk about what the potential drop for Bitcoin can be in the next cycle. In my opinion, I think there's still a big chance that Bitcoin is going to drop unless the Bitcoin Act gets into reality, right? It passes the Congress in the United States. When the Bitcoin Act passes Congress, well, Bitcoin is going to a lot higher price level, but we need to wait until that happens. There's no date yet for when the Bitcoin Act will be scheduled for the Senate, and so let's wait and see. When it doesn't pass, then of course the top for the bull market will be a lot lower than the potential when the Bitcoin Act gets enabled, where the United States will grow to 1 million Bitcoin in 5 years. They have 200,000 Bitcoin now, and that means 800,000 Bitcoin more, and Bitcoin will be strategically bought with a budget neutral perspective. That means taxpayers won't have to pay more tax for the United States to buy the Bitcoin. They can sell other assets, commodities, to trade them for Bitcoin. So with Bitcoin now still above 105k, there's a big uncertainty, which is the end of July. What's going to happen with the tariffs? What's going to happen with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act? And are we going to enter a bigger correction at the end of July, or are we going to see a big pump because the tariff discussion and trade results are very positive? The interest rate gets cut because of the right argumentation. Then we can see Bitcoin going to 120k easily, and alts will follow. Alts are still bleeding against Bitcoin. It is what it is. The focus is still mainly on Bitcoin. Bitcoin dominance is looking to go to 70%. And this is not something that we are surprised by. We just need to see and wait what's going to play out. So in my perspective, in my opinion, we're going to see sideways movements. When you draw a line here for Bitcoin, for example, and you can say like, well, maybe we are in like this descending channel, for instance. Let's take a look at it like that, and then you can say, well, we had that before, right? It's not the first time that Bitcoin was in a descending channel before it broke out and went to new all-time highs. We can have a similar thing, that we are in this descending channel, and we're going to perhaps revisit the 100,000 mark. And then there might be I think maybe it could be a little bit longer, that near the end of July, we can see a big decision. The big decision going like Bitcoin going to have a major correction, or the bigger decision is we're going to have a breakout and Bitcoin is going to the 120,000 nearing the end of the bull cycle statistically, right? I think those are the two scenarios. And therefore, the next period might be a little bit boring. But the next couple of periods is only like 4.5 weeks, right? So it's not that long of a time. And the question is, and we need to really monitor that, what we don't want to see is a double top. Because the last previous bull market, we saw a double top with a big correction, of course, in the middle. We saw a top, we saw a major correction, and now we see a second top. What we don't want is like when the double top gets validated, right? That means that the low, this correction gets broken through, then you're already near the end of the bear market. So that means that potential gains might be lost on the short term, right? That means that when Bitcoin breaks this level of this line of around $75,000, that means we are already nearing like the end of the bear market for the ultimate buy the dip phase, to get ready for the next pump phase in the 2028 halving, the fifth halving of Bitcoin. And this is my strategy, by the way. That's what I'm looking for, is at the end of this bull market, we're going to have a big crash, short-term crash, and then that you can buy Bitcoin cheaper. It's a risk, maybe it doesn't happen, but in my opinion, it's going to happen. That's still the way I look at it, and that's the way I'm going to follow it. But I will share, of course, in all honesty, when I am buying back into Bitcoin and when I am selling Bitcoin. The yellow flags here on your screen is when I am taking profit for Bitcoin. And when I'm going to reinvest into Bitcoin, you will see more green flags coming, but at the moment, that's not the case. So let's see what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. For now, the stability in the East is going to help maintain the Bitcoin price. And as long as Bitcoin remains above the $100,000, psychologically, it's also important that people and businesses keep investing into Bitcoin, of course, to make this support as stable as it can. And then from there on, we're going to go north. Well, and maybe not, and that's when we'll see what's going to happen. But I'm still very positive that there is a chance that when the interest rates go down on behalf of the right requirements, the right statistics, that we can see higher prices for Bitcoin. So let's see what's going to happen with this political agenda. Let's see how all countries are going to react, and let's see what the Bitcoin price is going to do in the next couple of weeks. But for now, for the next couple of weeks, I expect the price to stabilize unless there's going to be big news. So thanks for watching. If you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.